Hare Krishna and welcome everyone to our weekly Bhagavad Gita session. Today we'll be discussing chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, and we started these sessions from July onwards. From July, when we start we wanted to cover or complete all 18 sessions in 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita in 18 sessions, and that's what we've been endeavoring without any break. We have completed 12 chapters till last Sunday. Today we'll discuss 13 chapter. Next Sunday will not be able to meet a couple of Sundays because we'll be in Yatra, and we'll return on the 4th of November. So it's going to be a big break for this group. We'll not be able to meet those couple of Sundays, and we'll meet again in the week starting 4th November. But next Sunday we'll meet. But what we'll do is we'll publish the playlist of all the 13 chapters that what we have discussed so far. We have uploaded them on YouTube, and you can revise during this 15 days time as much as you can, so that your understanding of the concepts of Bhagavad Gita, at least at high level, becomes fixed. And with this, we will be able to resume our sessions on the from the next Sunday onwards, which will come after 4th November. So we'll discuss chapter 13 today. Now, this is the most one of the most complex chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So from first 6 chapters, the progression is from karma to bhakti. It starts with the description of karma, how it is important for us to perform activities is highlighted, and ultimately how it can lead to bhakti yoga, where Krishna conclude that section of karma and dhyana by saying that yoginam api sarvesham madgaten antaratmanam श्रद्धावान भजते यो माम समय युक्तो तमोमतः। जो श्रद्धा से मेरा भजन करते हैं वो सबसे श्रेष्ठ योगी है amongst all the yogis. That's how that section concluded. The last 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, starting from 13th chapter, going and going up to the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the focus is on jnana to bhakti. There's no connection between the 12th chapter and the 13th chapter directly, but Arjuna is picking up all the loose threads and tying them up by way of asking questions, so that dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. That is what Krishna has said. So dharma samsthapanarthaya, ये धर्म की संस्थापना करने के लिए, you cannot just define dharma only for handful of people. Manushanam Sahasreshu. Out of thousands of men, only one may endeavor to know Krishna. And that person also, Bahunam Janmanam Ante ज्ञानवान माम प्रपद्यते. मुझे भगवान बोलते हैं कि भगवान ज्ञानी भी मुझे बहुत मिलियंस एंड मिलियंस ऑफ बर्थ के बाद मुझे सरेंडर करते हैं. स महात्मा सुदुर्लभ. सो भक्ति बहुत रेयर है. सो ये अगर भक्ति मार्ग ही भगवान को बताना था, तो दैट इज ओनली गोइंग टू बी मेंट फॉर वेरी हैंडफुल पीपल. देन व्हाट अबाउट अदर पीपल? So Krishna is taking care of those who want to pursue jnana, and those who want to pursue karma and dhyana. So these are the three broad category of people who are dealt with: the karmis, the jnanis, and those who want to perform dhyana yoga or ashtanga yoga. And fourth category is, of course, devotees, bhakti yoga. So Bhagavan Krishna is now going to take care of the jnanis in this world, so that he's provided something for everyone who is inquisitive about knowing who is God, where we come from, where we go after the after our death, after giving up our present body. uh, these are the athato brahma jigyasa. This is called brahma jigyasa. This is not a jigyasa about from where I will get my next meal. मैं कब कल कौन से कपड़े पहनूंगा, क्या खाऊंगा और क्या पहनूंगा, उसके आगे जाके जब सोच बढ़ती है, देन वी कैन कम टू दिस प्लेटफॉर्म. सो दिस ब्रह्म जिज्ञासा, so Brahma Jigyasa can, or it's not just one type of Jigyasa. There will be many who will believe that karma has to be performed, and our body, our birth is meant for karma. If we don't work hard and if we eat, some people will feel guilty about it. Possible. So similarly, some people have more advanced understanding of the whole of the world. They'll say cultivation of jnana is more important. Karma is important, but jnana is more important. Jnana is higher than karma. Then some advanced yogis may think that going to Himalayas and sitting in a lotus posture for without moving, without eating, without drinking, by controlling your mind, by controlling your senses, that is far more advanced than even karma and jnana. So, so there are different type of people, and for everyone, Krishna is providing something, and that is what Dharma Sansthapanarthaya is doing this in a true sense. So let's take a quick look back of what we've discussed so far. So the Bhagavad Gita started, this whole discussion started with Arjuna's asking questions, many questions, in fact, giving a lot of logical reasoning for not fighting and experiencing a lot of negative symptoms in himself, a lot of distress, full condition that he was in. He started crying एंड बेसिकली फंडामेंटली वो बोल रहे हैं कि एक छोटे से भूमि के टुकड़े के लिए हम ये लाखों लोगों की जान क्यों ले. दैट वाज हिज सिंपल आर्ग्यूमेंट. और उसमें ये कोई अननोन लोग भी नहीं है. इसमें मेरे भाई है, मेरे पिता जैसे लोग हैं, मेरे ससुर जैसे लोग हैं, मेरे मित्र हैं, एंड उनके मित्र हैं, उनके रिश्तेदार हैं. सो इन सब का मरना जरूरी है क्या, जस्ट बिकॉज वी वॉन्ट टू बिकम किंग्स इन दिस वर्ल्ड? ये हमारा किंग बनना इतना अहम है क्या, ये इतना इंपॉर्टेंट है कि ये if for this reason, if all these people also need to be killed, so be it. उनकी फैमिलीज का क्या होगा, उनके बच्चों का क्या होगा, बीबी का क्या होगा, दे आर ऑल, उनके माता पिता का क्या होगा, दे ऑल ऑफ देम आर इन डिफरेंट स्टेजेस ऑफ देयर लाइफ. सो ये जरूरी है क्या, वॉर जरूरी है क्या, जीतना जरूरी है क्या, इनको मारना जरूरी है क्या, क्या कर सही एक्शन है, व्हाट शुड आई डू? आई एम अ सोल्जर, आई एम सपोज टू फाइट, आई एम सपोज टू किल, but is this killing justified? Now Arjuna doesn't know this, and in this bewildered state of mind, he surrenders to Krishna. He says, पृच्छामि त्वाम धर्म सम्मूढ़ चेता. टेल मी कृष्णा, यत् श्रेयस्यास्या निश्चितम ब्रूहितम. आप निश्चित करके मुझे बताइए मेरा श्रेय क्या है, व्हाट इज गुड फॉर मी. शिष्यस्ते अहम शाधि मात्वाम प्रपन्नम. मैं आपका शिष्य बन रहा हूँ, मैं आपको गुरु जैसे स्वीकार कर रहा हूँ, आप मेरे गुरु बन जाइए और मुझे ये बताइए कि मेरे लिए क्या सही है, व्हाट इज राइट पाथ ऑफ एक्शन फॉर मी. आई एम नॉट एबल टू डिसाइड what should I do? So the question was about killing, and Krishna immediately take the position of teacher, of guru. So Krishna entered this battlefield as a servant, and now from servant to guru, he's becoming guru, and eventually he will become supreme God. So Krishna also is showing many बहुत सारे उनके स्वरूप दिख रहे हैं कृष्णा के, भगवान के. सो भगवान एंटर तो करते हैं एज अ सर्वेंट, एज अ ऑर्डिनरी सर्वेंट. देयर मस्ट बी thousands and millions of chariots must have been there. Each charioteer and each chariot uh, was each of the Athirathi or Maharathi had his own chariot. Uh, and all of those chariots had chariot drivers. None of those chariot drivers' name anybody know. But Krishna, when Krishna becomes chariot driver, he becomes transcendental chariot driver. He becomes Divya chariot driver. Therefore, the whole Bhagavad Gita revolves around this one chariot and his chariot driver. His chariot driver is more important than the person who is sitting in the chariot. Now Krishna immediately assumes role of a guru and say that you're worried about killing of these people, but these people, you're mistaking them. एज बॉडीज। ये जो लोग दिख रहे हैं, इनका और ओरिजिनल स्वरूप आत्मा है। ये लोग आत्मा है। ये लोग अभी इस शरीर में है। ये शरीर नहीं है, ये शरीर नहीं, आत्मा है। और आत्मा को आप मार नहीं सकते। इफ यू आर वरीड अबाउट किलिंग, देर इज नो डेथ, देर इज नो क्वेश्चन ऑफ डेथ फॉर आत्मा। एंड शरीर की जहां तक बात है, शरीर को आप बचा नहीं सकते। आज ना कल शरीर तो छूटने वाला है। एंड कृष्णा स्पीक्स couple of beautiful verses. देहिनोऽस्मिन् यथा देहे कौमारं यौवनम जरा तथा देहांतर प्राप्ति धीरस्तत्र न मुह्यति। देहांतर तो होता ही रहता है। बच्चा होता है, बच्चा युवा बनता है, युवा वृद्ध बनता है, एंड एट सम स्टेज वो शरीर भी छूट जाता है और वह फिर से बच्चा बनता है। ये चेंज बॉडी का है। ये शारीरिक चेंज है, ये आत्मा का चेंज नहीं है। आत्मा तो उसमें अंदर है और वो अनचेंजेबल है। इट्स अनबॉर्न। इसने आत्मा ने कभी बर्थ लिया ही नहीं था, तो आत्मा की मृत्यु भी संभव नहीं है। अजो नित्य शाश्वतोयम पुराणो न हन्यते हन्य माने शरीरे। हन्य मीन्स उसका डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हो सकता। शरीर डिस्ट्रॉय हो जा सकता है, बट आत्मा का डिस्ट्रक्शन नहीं हो सकता। So therefore, you should not worry. And Krishna begins in the 12th verse also. He says that नत्वेवाहम जातुनासम नत्वम ने में जनाधिपहा। ये सारे जो किंग्स दिख रहे हैं, जनाधिपहा दिख रहे हैं, देर इज दे never was there a time when they never existed, and you and I never existed, and in future also never will there be any time when they will cease to exist. They will continue to exist in their original swarupa of atma, of spirit soul. But their bodies will keep changing, and body you cannot save, atma you cannot kill. This is fundamental spiritual knowledge. Spiritual knowledge begins with the knowledge of Atma, knowledge that you are Brahman, you are eternal, you are also in your own way. You can be you can be Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is eternal, Chit is all knowledgeable, and Ananda, you are always blissful. That is our original स्वरूप। जैसे वर्षा में जो बादल से बारिश पानी आता है, रेन आती है, तो इट्स इन इट्स ओरिजिनल प्योर फॉर्म। बट द मोमेंट इट कम इन कांटेक्ट विद द मड, with the earth, it gets contaminated. And that is what is our condition is. In our original state, we are Satchit Ananda. We are eternal. We are full of knowledge and full of bliss, just like Krishna. Qualitatively one, quantitatively different. That's all right. But we are never meant to become miserable as what we are today. So Krishna introduces this concept of soul, and but is this knowledge sufficient? Krishna says this knowledge is necessary but not sufficient. Mathematics में conditions होते हैं. Sometimes some values are necessary but not sufficient. So similarly, आत्मा का knowledge, आत्म ज्ञान, ये necessary है जीवों को शारीरिक कॉन्सेप्शन से ऊपर उठने के लिए। दिस नॉलेज इज नेसेसरी, बट दिस नॉलेज इज नॉट इनफ। व्हाई? बिकॉज as long as the soul is occupying a body, a soul will have to maintain a body. Body and soul need to be together for a given duration of life. Each one of us has a different duration of life, and during this duration we all need to maintain our body and soul together. Body is temporary, but it is important, because using this body, soul can sharira yatra, soul can continue its journey of this sharir, and he can complete the duration of life that is allotted to it. So Krishna says, 33rd verse, that you must act. Given your prescribed duties, you have to perform prescribed duties. If you fail to perform prescribed duties, you will incur sin. So a soul who is occupying a body has to act, no alternative. Now, एक्शन में जब हम एक्ट करते हैं, वी ऑल नेचुरली एक्सपेक्ट रिजल्ट्स। हम जॉब को जाते हैं, हम सैलरी एक्सपेक्ट करते हैं, हम पढ़ाई करते हैं, तो हम अच्छे से पढ़ाई करने के बाद वी एक्सपेक्ट गुड रिजल्ट्स। जब भी एग्जाम्स देने के बाद वी एक्सपेक्ट गुड रिजल्ट, कि मेरे पेपर अच्छे से लिखा था तो मुझे अच्छे मार्क्स मिलने चाहिए। कृष्ण से इज 47th वर्स, कर्मण्य कर्मण्येवाधिकारस्ते माँ फलेषु कदाचनम माँ कर्मफल हेतुर्भु माते संगोस्त्व अकर्मणि। अकर्म नहीं करना है, काम स्टॉप नहीं करना है, काम तो करते रहना है। बट इन द फर्स्ट स्टैंजा ही सेज कर्मण्य, ये तो आपका अधिकार है, एंड यू मस्ट फुलफिल योर अधिकार। जैसे वोट देना हमारा अधिकार है, वी मस्ट वोट वेन एवर देर आर इलेक्शंस। सो ये काम करना, ये तो अधिकार है आपका, इट्स ड्यूटी, इट्स ऑब्लिगेशन, यू मस्ट फुलफिल दैट। बट फल इज नॉट, you should not be attached to the fruit. It's not that you should not expect fruit. You fruit to karma फल तो आप expect करेंगे, but one should not be attached to that phala. One should not be one should not be attached to the fruit कि मुझे ऐसा ही फल चाहिए। हम जब कभी why is Krishna saying this? Krishna is introducing in the third part of this verse that that you should not attach, be, you cannot be attached to the results. You will get results, but that results may or may not meet your expectation. And the reason for that is not the result is not just produced by your action. Your actions are necessary but not sufficient. Results are produced by your action and my sanction, and a combination of these two produce this result. So even if your action is there 100%, if my sanction is not there, your result will not meet your expectation. So that is what Krishna is explaining, that you must act, but you should act with the mind, with the mood of detachment. You should not act with the attachment to the results. So that will give you misery. That will give you misery. So but then what is there a best way to act? Krishna says yes, of course. In the ninth verse, third chapter, Krishna says यज्ञार्थात कर्मणो अन्यत्र लोकोयम कर्म बंधना। जब आप भगवान के सेटिस्फेक्शन के लिए काम करते हैं, कार्य करते हैं, तो वो कार्य सबसे बेस्ट होता है। And otherwise it will cause bondage in the material world. So whenever we act for our satisfaction, for fulfilling my dreams, my goals, for my enjoyment, for my eating, for my seeing, viewing, for my listening, and for my I want to enjoy, and as long as we act with this consciousness, whatever we do, we produce a phala, a fruit, and that phala is accruing to us. We must enjoy or suffer that phala. Whenever we perform any activity for the pleasure of Krishna, that is a karma. That a karma does not produce any fruit. But Krishna, Arjuna may say that Krishna, I am not at that stage where I still want to enjoy. When I see delicious food stuff, I want to enjoy that food. I want to enjoy pastry. I want to enjoy pizza. I want to eat nice pasta. I want to enjoy nice mangoes. I want to wear nice dress. I want to look good. I want to be popular in my community. I have all those desires. Um, what should I do? Krishna says, doesn't matter. Even if you're not at a purified, you're not sufficiently purified, because of which you have all this contamination, that I want to look good, I want to be popular, I want to enjoy, I want to eat, I want to see. So Krishna says, do it in the mood of offering your karma phala to me. Perform actions, but offer the fruits of your action to me. That way, that is, you're still doing what you want to do. You like to do business, fine, you do business, but offer the some portion of your fruits to Krishna. You are attached to work, you are attached to doing your whatever degree you have, engineering, medical, architecture, accounting, legal, field of uh, whatever the field of excellence that you have chosen. You do those activities, you are attached to doing those activities, please do those activities, but at least give a portion of the fruit which is what we earn by doing those activities to Krishna. That way you purify those actions. If you're not able to act according to 3.9, then at least do 3.30. That way you can remain free from karmic reactions of the actions. Krishna, beginning fourth chapter, Krishna started speaking something about himself. Which gets triggered from the Arjuna's question that how am I to understand that you gave this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, of controlling lust of Bhagavad Gita to sun god. बिकॉज सन गॉड इज प्राचीन. हम सूर्य को ऐसे नहीं समझते कि हमारे साथ बर्थ हुआ है और हमारे मरने के बाद सूर्य आना बंद कर देंगे. सूर्य देव तो प्राचीन है. और हाउ एम आई टू अंडरस्टैंड कि ये आपने कैसे दिया नॉलेज ये सूर्य को. सो भगवान बोलते हैं कि दैट you and me have had many many births. I can remember all of those, but you cannot because you are changing body. जैसे ही बॉडी चेंज होती है आपका इरेज हो जाता है, कवर हो जाता है आपका प्रीवियस नॉलेज. इरेज कभी नहीं होता बट कवर हो जाता है, because of which you don't remember any of those previous births. But I can remember all the births because I appear in my original spiritual body, in my original spiritual form. Then why do I appear? Then comes those two famous verses that dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. I come paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha duskrutam and dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. युग युग में मैं जन्म लेता हूँ for the for saving my devotees and killing the miscreants. But our Acharya says, no, these are side activities, these are unimportant activities. Krishna comes to perform Leela. Krishna comes predominantly, he comes whenever Krishna appears, all the demigods, all his beautiful devotees, they also appear. And together they perform Leela. They perform pastimes. And those Leelas become famous. They give unlimited joy to his devotees, and these leelas are captured and they are narrated and discussed amongst the future devotees, and they also derive great pleasure out of that. Tushyanti cha ramanti cha. So Krishna says that, and then he says in the ninth verse, he reveals the secret purpose of his appearance. He says, just by listening, understanding in Tattva, the reason for my appearance and my activities, you can be free from all material contamination and you can come back to me. तक्त्वा देहम पुनर्जन्म नैति मामेति सो अर्जुना. आपको पुनर्जन्म नहीं होगा. Just by knowing in Tattva the reason, the mysteries of my birth and my activities. Janma karma chame divyam. This is one of the most important to us. Krishna says that, okay, बट ये सभी का मूड ऐसा नहीं होता है. देयर आर डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ पीपल एंड ईच वन ऑफ देम हैव डिफरेंट मूड एंड इन डिफरेंट वे दे विल सरेंडर टू मी. Keshav Swami Maharaj says that there are the world has two type of people: those who are humble people, they will surrender to Krishna, and those who will be humbled by Krishna in due course of time. So when you go to in front of DT, you pay obeisances, you fall flat on the ground and pay obeisances to Lord. Immediately by seeing Lord, you pay obeisances. That's one type of people. Other type of people, they fall flat on the ground when they die, and Krishna meet them as death personified, and that meeting is not very pleasant, not very not very will not make those jivas happy. And they will regret why they wasted their lifetime in on social media, in earning money, building assets, having affairs, and doing all kind of nonsense things, watching sports, watching movies, watching all the web series, listening to all the garbage rock music produced. I thought doing shopping, filling my home with all unwanted things which I've never used, unwanted clothes which I will never wear. And this is what I thought life is. And and I've never surrendered to Krishna. But when Krishna meet them as death personified, they regret what they have done during the whole lifetime, how they have wasted human life. But Krishna says, good news is, if you surrender to me, I become partial to you. I will favor you. I will specially favor you if you choose to become my devotee. So please become Krishna's devotee, and then be 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 prepared to be surprised by Krishna. You cannot imagine what all Krishna can do to you. He will reciprocate with you in the degree of your surrender. If you surrender 100%, he will protect you 100%, 102%, 200%. He can go to any extent in protecting you, in giving you pleasure, in making you happy, provided you also have the same mood for Krishna. So one must not give up actions, but one should give up the mentality to enjoy while performing those actions. Dhyana yoga is valid, but for achieving Krishna as Paramatma in the heart, this covers in the sixth chapter. But it is very difficult for common man in Kali Yuga to do, and hence Arjuna says that. Uh, that चंचलम ही मन कृष्णा प्रमाथि बलवद दृढ़म. ये मन मेरा बहुत चंचल है. ध्यान योगा is all about mind, and controlling your mind is impossible. I can control wind. I can think of controlling wind. I have that kind of power, but I cannot control my mind. कृष्णा says असंशयम ही महाबाहो. असंशयम, इसमें कोई संशय नहीं है. जब जब आपका माइंड वंडर करेगा, आप उसको पकड़ के प्लीज लेके आइएगा. जैसे बच्चा जैसा है, मंकी जैसा है. बट ही सेज समथिंग डिफरेंट, दैट भक्ति योगी, इफ यू बिकम भक्ति योगी, आपको मन की इतना चिंता करने की जरूरत नहीं है. मन मुझ में मन लगाओ, मन मना भव मद भक्तो. दैट इज हाउ कृष्णा रिकमेंड्स अर्जुना that bhakti yoga is better than anything else. So if you become devotee, all your mind, senses, and intelligence you will be used for Krishna. And then Krishna begin seventh chapter by bringing himself at the center of entire discussion. Sambandha Krishna, Abhidheya process is Bhakti Yoga, and Prayojana is to attain love of Krishna, Krishna Prem. That is the program given for Arjuna, given to all of us, all the wandering jivas who are planning to go to which mall to visit next, which movie to watch next, and which food, which hotel to visit next, which city to visit next. ये सब enjoying के plans बन रहे हैं. All those jivas, Krishna is giving this program that you should you should realign your plans, consider your plans, because these plans will keep you in the material world practically for eternity, permanently. If you want to go to Krishna, if you want permanent happiness, if you want to live eternal life, and they lived happily ever after, ये आपको अगर सच में करना है, तो you will have to go to Krishna Loka. In this world you cannot find that. That is a foreign concept, alien concept for this world. In this world nothing is permanent, no one is permanently happy, no one is permanently, nothing is permanent, and nobody is happy. दुखालयम अशाश्वतम, अनित्यम असुखम लोकम. दो बार कृष्ण ने बोला है, तो ये सच है. एंड कृष्णा विल इंश्योर दैट it is proved in this way to everyone. There's no question of anybody having any other thought or any other opinion. It doesn't matter. What matter is remembering Krishna, becoming Krishna devotee, practicing bhakti yoga, and obtaining love of Krishna. If you can do that, you will remember Krishna all the time, and also at the time of your death. Krishna says, if you can do this, if you can remember me alone at the moment of your death, you will attain me for sure. But that's the general instruction is then therefore tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. Perform your prescribed duties by remembering me, cultivating my constant remembrance. You do your duties. Such remembrance can be cultivated only if we have taken shelter of Krishna, with our mind and intelligence invested, attached to Krishna. In those conditions only we will remember Krishna in our difficulties. If we face any challenging situation, we remember If we have some godfather, कोई बहुत influential आदमी है, तो we remember him. In for normal difficult situations, we remember how much money we have in our bank account. Whoever my my I can call my papa, I can call my kaka, or I can call my friend who has influence, lot of influence, who can make things happen. ये हमारे shelters है. हमारे insurance policy is our shelter. Our medical policy is our shelter. Our chacha mama who has some political connection, he's our shelter. Or our some friend who is very rich man, who is who says मैं कभी भी आपका मदद कर दूंगा, कुछ भी हो मुझे बोलना. He's like a god like person, those are our shelters. Krishna says ये सारे false shelter है, क्योंकि इनको भी मेरी शेल्टर की जरूरत पड़ती है. नन ऑफ देम आर इंडिपेंडेंट शेल्टर. सो इफ यू टेक माई शेल्टर, that is your ultimate, I can become your ultimate savior. But if you don't, then I will allow you to take whoever shelter that you wish to and suffer. Suffering तो guaranteed है. Krishna reveals in the 7th, 9th, and 10th chapter कि Arjuna asks him कि how do I remember you constantly while acting in the material world? Then Krishna says, by various forms, I'm present in this world everywhere, practically everything and anything and everything that you see, feel, touch, perceive, know. That is coming from me. Anything glorious, attractive in this world is manifested by me. All your qualities come from me. All your talent, abilities, skills, everything comes from me. The knowledge of the knowledgeable people comes from Krishna. Intelligence of the intelligent people come from Krishna. Remembrance come from Krishna. Forgetfulness come from Krishna. Everything come from Krishna. Our home is made up of material that is provided by Krishna. Ourselves, the soul, the Atma, spiritual spark itself is a separated part of Krishna. So nothing can exist without Krishna, and including our bodies, physical abilities, intelligence, knowledge, remembrance, talents. And then Krishna conclude all his Bhagavad Gita instructions by this speaking these four verses, beautiful verses. So we call them Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. And Arjuna confirms immediately after that how he is accepting Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, how he wants to surrender to Krishna completely, all his actions he wants to dedicate to Krishna. And after speaking this, he requests Krishna to tell him about his vibhutis that's covered in the 10th chapter, and show his Virata Rupa, their universal form. And then the 12th chapter, Tesham Aham Samudharta Mrityu Samsara Sagarat. Krishna declare that I will, if you become my devotee, न चिरे न बहुत ही जल्द ही मैं आपको संसार रूपी इस महासागर से उठा लूंगा. गरुड़ पे आके आई विल लिफ्ट यू फ्रॉम दिस ओशन. डोंट worry about swimming through this ocean. You will never be able to do that. Mama Maya Duratvaya. Ye ocean is full filled with Maya. And Maya is in control. This is her domain. You will never be able to defeat her unless you surrender yourself to me. Then you will be able to defeat her. And so that Krishna says, because need not worry about Maya, then I will personally come and lift you up from the material ocean. So knowing this is so important, but acting on this knowledge is more important. This is Bhagavad Gita in nutshell, that what we have discussed over last 12 Sundays, which brings us to the today's topic of nature, the enjoyer, and the consciousness. So this is considered to be the most tough chapter to comprehend, to understand. So you can see the 35 verses are also broken across almost six letters. Wisest, the wise questions. The chapter begins by Arjuna asking some questions, and which we'll take a look at. Then items of knowledge, 8 to 12, soul and super soul. And then that is covered in the verses from 13 to 19. The enjoyer, enjoying mentality is talked about in the from the and the effect of that enjoying mentality, they are discussed from the verse 20 to 26. 27 to 29 talk about seeker to seer, the transformation of Arjuna from being seeker to a seer. And then T is transcendental, how we can become transcendental. let's jump into this. So we have about 80, yeah, 69 participants at the moment. It can be little challenging. Feel free to stop me if you are not able to follow any part. Hopefully, those who dropped, hopefully they will join back again. But just in case you are not, will not be able to do a question answer or some group discussion in this chapter, because at our level we'll not be able to really discuss much about it. Those concepts are quite tricky, quite tough to comprehend. Their names are a little difficult, but if you have studied chapter 2 properly, then you can relate this knowledge with chapter 2 a little bit. But as we often see in Bhagavad Gita, the knowledge seems to be coming back again and again, but every time it comes again, it takes you deeper into the knowledge. So similarly, we will go deeper into the knowledge. It's not just knowledge about body and soul, spirit and matter. It takes you deeper into the relationship of the spirit, between the two spirits. So let's find out that. So if you not able to follow any part, let's put up a question immediately, or unmute and say, want to repeat something, and we can stop and we can repeat that part. But else, we can discuss towards the end about the question and answer that you might have on this particular chapter, or anything in general also. So let's begin by Arjuna's questions that, oh my dear Krishna, I wish to know about Prakriti. Prabhupada has provided, what it means. So Arjuna is asking about Prakriti, Purusha, and Prabhupada in the bracket has already provided the answers to the Prakriti, what Prakriti means and what Purusha means. So, so as to make it more easy for us to understand, comprehend. So Arjuna is asking a question about Prakriti bracket nature, Purusha the enjoyer, and the field, the knower of the field, and the knowledge and the object of knowledge. This is first verse of Arjuna. So Arjuna is asking essentially about six things. Now, six terminologies Arjuna wants some clarification upon. Now, again, as we see, the last section, the last chapter was pure Bhakti Yoga, Kevala Bhakti, where Arjuna is Krishna is concluding that chapter by speaking series of verses saying that how who is a devotee, which devotee is dear to me, when a devotee becomes dear to me. Now those series of verses have got nothing to do with these questions, because chapter 12 concluded by those verses, and immediately Arjuna is asking a question about things or concepts which so far has not been discussed in the entire Bhagavad Gita. So, but these were relevant questions. These were relevant concepts, prevalent concepts at around the Vedic time, and they Arjuna know about them, and Arjuna want more clarification about those concepts from Krishna. Now, being inspired by Krishna, Arjuna is asking these questions. Practically, the Bhagavad Gita actually was over in the 10th chapter itself, when Arjuna accepted Krishna's supremacy, supreme position. However, Arjuna is still having few doubts, how having or seeking more clarifications from the point of view of those who will not so readily accept Krishna as supreme God. Arjuna want everyone to accept Krishna as supreme God. Everyone should become his devotee, and to facilitate that, Arjuna has asked subsequent questions like, आप मुझे आपके विभूतियों के बारे में बताइए. Now then you tell me about your विराट रूपा. आप कैन यू शो विराट रूपा? ये तो बोल तो बहुत दिया, आप क्या दिखा सकते हो? And then immediately Krishna is showing virat रूपा. Now all of this has implications in the future when anybody who will claim himself to be God, and in India today there are many gods, so many so-called gods, many people who claim to be God. Now they also should be able to demonstrate Virat Rupa. Mahaprabhu was God. Mahaprabhu was Krishna himself, and he demonstrated his Vishwarupa. He demonstrated, he could at his will he could demonstrate four-arm form and six-arm form. So many of his devotees have seen this. So there's no question, there's no doubt that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself. coming in the form of a devotee, because Bhagavad Gita instructions are difficult to follow, and Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam should be brought into the center of the preaching, and that can only be done by an empowered devotee or a Krishna himself. So Krishna chose to come himself, appear himself, and allow the Sat Goswamis and many other beautiful, wonderful devotees to propagate Krishna consciousness based on the teachings of Mahaprabhu. So that is that is what Krishna will do. So so this way, um, Krishna is now Arjuna has now asked these questions about the concepts which were prevalent at that time, and Arjuna is seeking knowledge from the point of view of jnanis, so that those people also develop attraction towards Krishna and become his devotee. Krishna is replying in the second verse. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "This body, O son of Kunti, is called the field, and one who knows this body is called the knower of the field." 3.2 translation. So Arjuna inquiry about a certain concepts: Prakriti, that is nature; Purusha, the enjoyer; Kshetra, the field of activity, the body; Kshetrajna, the knower of the field of activity or knower of the body. And what is knowledge? What are the items of knowledge, and what is the object of knowledge? Ultimately, knowledge लेके करना क्या है? इति मत्वा भजन्ते माम बुधा भाव समन्विताः अहम सर्वस्य प्रभवो मत्तः सर्वं प्रवर्तते। मैं मेरे महानता पता चलने के बाद अहम सर्वस्य प्रभवो, आई एम द सोर्स ऑफ एवरीथिंग, मत्तः सर्वं प्रवर्तते, एवरीथिंग इज एमिनेटेड फ्रॉम मी। नाउ दिस बिकम्स नॉलेज पार्ट। ये अगर हमको समझ में आ गया तो करना क्या है? इति मत्वा भजन्ते माम, ये जानने के बाद लोग क्या करते हैं? भजन्ते माम, दे बिकम माय डिवोटी, दे स्टार्ट परफॉर्मिंग भक्ति योगा, they they start rendering devotional service to me. They iti matva bhajante mam buddha, and those people are wise people, not the one who is got a lot of degrees is wise. With all those degrees, if he is unable to surrender to Krishna, his degrees are useless. So buddha bhava samanvitaha, wholeheartedly he start worshipping me. Such buddha, such wise person is what we should become. So knowledge should lead to action. The knowledge is not passive knowledge, it's active knowledge. It should lead to action. That's what Krishna is expecting, and that's what will bring transformation. So what is the knowledge? What is the object of knowledge? Again, we spoke about no direct connection between previous chapters. Uh, Jnana to Bhakti, Bhakti Yoga or devotional service will continue to be the supreme path of for attaining Krishna. Prabhupada writes in the purport, this body is the field of activity for the conditioned soul. The conditioned soul is entrapped in the material existence, and he attempts to lord it over material nature. And so, according to his capacity to dominate material nature, he gets a field of activity. That field of activity is the body. And what is the body? The body is made of senses. The conditioned soul wants to enjoy sense gratification, and according to his capacity to enjoy sense gratification, he is offered a body or field of activity. Therefore, the field is called kshetra, or the field of activity for the conditioned soul. It is not very difficult to understand the difference between the field and its knower, the body and the knower of the body. Any person can consider that from childhood to old age, he undergoes so many changes of body, and yet is still one person remaining. Thus, there is difference between the knower of the field of activities and the actual field of activities. Essentially, Prabhupada is just talking about the body is not just one whole thing. Body has a knower of the body and a physical body. That physical body is the field, is considered to be the field, and the knower is considered to be the real owner. That is the uh, that is the distinction that is Prabhupada bringing out, which is what we saw also in the in the second chapter, and Prabhat quotes the verse from second chapter, 13th verse. A living conditioned soul can thus understand that he is different from the body. Now, this is again Atma, Adhyatma starts with the knowledge of Atma. Spirituality starts with the knowledge about spirit soul. And that is essential. As long as that is missing, we think and behave as if we are body, as if I am Indian, as if I am Maharashtrian, as if I am born in a Brahmin family, as if I am a chartered accountant, as if I am a owner of this home, as if I'm a head of a family which has a wife and children, and all these are member of this particular society, member of this community. These are all bodily designations. They will be there as long as I will, the soul is occupying this but present body. Those bodily designations will also be there. Same is case with you all. you know you are you all also have body, and all of you are also, it's a male body, female body, a young body, a old body, a Maharashtrian body, Gujarati body, or a Sindhi body, or some other bodily designations. The educational quality also are assigned to the body. It's not assigned to the soul. So it is most important and critical to remember that we are not this body. We are separate. We are different from the body. And if you can somehow remember this every day, a lot of our problems will be solved. A lot of our difficulties, distressful conditions will be resolved just by remembering this one thing, that I am not this body anyway. So, so this is one. Please keep. This is one takeaway all of you can please take out of this, that we are not this body. We are spirit, soul. We are Atma. Prabhupada write further that it is described in the beginning, Dehinosmin, that the living entity is within the body, and the body is changing from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and youth to old age. And the person who owns the body knows that the body is changing. The owner is distinctly Kshetrajna. There is a Kshetra and Kshetrajna, the knower of the field. Sometimes we think I am happy, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a dog, I am a cat. These are bodily designations of the knower, but the knower is different from the body. Although we may use many articles, our clothes, etc., we know that we are different from those things that we use. Similarly, we also understand by a little contemplation that we are different from our body. This is need theory. Maslow need theory. This is been taught in schools, colleges, everywhere. We'll use that a little bit to understand that that there is a the needs has a hierarchy. Now, once we are in the body, we'll have to act and we'll have to perform some activities to keep our body and soul together. So, what are our needs? Why should we act for the maintenance of the body? While we act for the maintenance of our body, not all our needs are of same type. So there are physiological needs like food, water, warmth, and rest. Then there are safety needs, the security, safety. Then there are psychological needs, that is belongingness and love. You need friends, you need intimate relationships, and you need friendship. You need to be belong somewhere. Then esteem needs are prestige and a feeling of accomplishment, sense of achievement. Those are esteem needs. And then the last is self actualization needs, achieving one's full potential, including the creative activities. So this is a need theory presented by Maslow, saying that not every day people will come and work for filling their belly. In the offices also this is used, that people want money, but they also want respect, they also want the recognition. They also want to be accepted in the community. They also want to see their contribution is valued by the company. And there are various ways in which people understand these aspects, and they try to take care of those aspects of the employees. So let's see what how it relates with the bhakti yoga. So once basic needs are fulfilled, one should immediately take up the devotional service of loving and serving Krishna. So as long as basic things are not fulfilled, basic needs are not taken care of, it will be impossible, difficult at our level to perform bhakti. Shad Goswamis didn't care for even the basic needs. They didn't have clothes. They found whatever clothes they could find in the on the street. They were wearing that, um, and they were not caring to build a home. They were not worried about the natural changes in the in the seasons, the weather. They just were focused on serving Mahaprabhu. Their simple focus was to how best we can love and serve Krishna.
राजू का कन्या कॉल की उसने बोला कि सितारा मंडी ने बोला कि वो नहीं आएगी।
So just muted. So so Prabhupada says that there should be a level. There should be, so these are levels in of needs, and one is expected that at once the fundamental needs are taken care of, one should move higher in the hierarchy of needs. One should just get stuck to basic needs of eating. So this is, and that happens naturally. That happens naturally, and we should also know that how to handle those needs. Desire for belonging, to love and to be loved, when practiced with a family of non-devotees, they become cause of bondage. Esteem needs and the below are mistaken only as needs, hence the lifetime is wasted without turning to Krishna. Uh, and The self-actualization means to realize one's full potential. And best use of our life is to use our time to cultivate constant remembrance of Krishna and to go back to Krishna at the time of death by remembering Krishna. Everything else should be done to facilitate this primary goal of life. The self actualization is utilizing one's full potential. Now what is a full potential? What is the full potential that one can attain in the human form of life is to go back to Krishna. Now, this facility is only available to humans. Spiritual knowledge can only be understood by humans. A dog cannot attend a Bhagavad Gita class. A cat will not know today is Ekadashi. She should not be eating rat today. She should be fasting. So these are the changes. So the intervention. So they are completely bound by their physical nature. S- They have no capacity to think differently. Humans have. Basis the scriptures, when human beings can change the field of activity, can change their actions and alter their instincts to curve them, and to mold them, direct them in a proper condition, in a proper direction. That is a facility that is, but that can be done only with the knowledge which we gain from scriptures and the sadhana which we practice under the guidance of devotees, and with the mercy of Krishna, we will be able to change the nature of our activities. This is possible. Prabhupada gives in the purport that there are Annamaya, the similar pattern Prabhupada is presented. Annamaya, the food is supreme object. At this stage, people live to eat. The only focus that people have is from where will I get my next meal? What will I eat? Will I eat or will I not eat? Do I have enough to eat or don't eat, not eat? The filling up belly is the only goal of life. That's a very low stage. If one is living life just to fill belly, somehow it's a pathetic condition to live. Pranamaya. is seek to preserve his life. At this stage, we are slightly above. We think something about apart from filling our belly. That lunch, breakfast, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner, breakfast, lunch, dinner. ये cycle से हम बाहर आके now we are trying to compete in the world. We are trying to excel in the world. We are trying to protect what we have in the world. Seek to preserve his life. Now this is pranamaya. बट दिस इज ऑल्सो ग्रॉस, ये तो कुत्ता भी करता है कि ये गली में मैं दूसरे कुत्ते को घुसने नहीं दूंगा. दिस इज ऑल्सो अ वेरी लो लेवल ऑफ एक्टिविटी. इफ वन remains engaged in doing one and two, annamaya and pranamaya, their life is wasted, because there are so much more that they can do otherwise they are missing out on. Jnanamaya is where one appreciates the subtle interactions of mind, intelligence, emotions, and aesthetics, etc. as ultimate. Means now this person who is in this third stage of Jnanamaya is rising at least above the food consumption and the competition success. That acting only at the level of physical level. Now one is able to appreciate the interactions of mind. There's a mind, the subtle body is now active. One is trying to understand the mind a little bit more. The swabhava, or the one is able to appreciate the rasa that one gets from listening to a beautiful music. शास्त्रीय म्यूजिक सुनने से जो रस आता है, जो आनंद आता है, जो तल्लीन होके हम ऐसे करते हैं, तो that is appreciated by a person who is in jnanamaya stage. If you're if you're only thinking and talking and acting for food, you cannot appreciate all of these things. You have no taste for this. Pranamaya stage also, you have no taste for aesthetics and emotional, the emotional indulgence, poetry, composing beautiful poetry, and appreciating beautiful poetry. Now you can't do that if you're too busy in getting a promotion, getting ahead, buying the latest car, buying the latest house, biggest house in the your in amongst your relatives, and you're just too busy in doing things and expanding, investing, multiplying my investment, doing this, doing that. He has no time to, no intelligence, no taste, and no capacity to appreciate a beautiful scenic nature. Beautiful. He cannot go and become speechless and sit in front of a beautiful valley, which filled with mountains and valleys and greenery, jungle, complete silence, birds chirping, and we see the snow glaciers and appreciate cool breeze blowing. They have no understanding of that. They just struggle with this. So jnanamaya is that stage where you are appreciating the intricacies of mind, interactions of your mind, emotions, intelligence, aesthetics, all those things becomes important for you. Now you have already risen above the food and the competition stage. But imagine a lot of people waste their life in Annamaya and Pranamaya stage. They have no appreciation for somebody who is in Jnanamaya stage. And Vijnanamaya is again further advancement to understand the soul and Brahman is ultimate object. Now this stage one is got the understanding of one's own superior nature, that I am spirit soul, I am Brahman, I'm eternal, I'm not connected with this body, I'm detached from this body, I should be detached from this body. And this is a Vijnanamaya stage, but this is gives some peace, but it's not give ananda. Anandamaya stage comes when you realize that there's a distinction between self and the supreme self. There is a supreme self also, and we have a relationship, blissful relationship with that supreme self. And that loving relationship, when I interact with that supreme self, I realize myself completely in the Anandamaya stage. And this is where we have we enjoy complete blissful life. Now, Krishna is explaining further. Kshetrajnam cha api mam vidhi sarva kshetreshu bharata. Kshetra kshetrajnaya kshetra kshetrajna क्षेत्र 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 क्षेत्रज्ञयोर ज्ञानम यत् ज्ञानम यत्तज ज्ञानम matam mama. O son of Bharata, you should understand that I am also the knower of all body, knower in all bodies. That is already Krishna said that the one who knows the body is kshetrajna. There is a kshetra, field of activity, which is body, and there is a soul who is the knower of the body. Now, soul concept has already been introduced, and Krishna has spoken a lot about that in the second chapter as well. So, Krishna is referring to that and saying that soul is the kshetrajna. But he says, along with that soul, there is a super soul. There is another soul who is also the kshetrajna, but he is a different type of kshetrajna. How different? My soul, I am soul, and I am currently inside my body. This is my body. You are all souls and you are currently situated in your respective bodies. I know little bit about my body. I can't claim to know everything about my body, but I know a little bit about my body. I can raise my hand, I can speak, but I know nothing about your bodies. I have no information about field, your body, that is the field. So I can't raise your hand, and I can't know what's going inside your mind right now. So no, nor of so the so but so Krishna says, but this is the limitation of soul. As a super soul, I am present in your body as well as my body. As a super soul, I am present in all the bodies, and therefore I can witness, I can know about all the bodies. While you can know only about your body, I, as a super soul who is present inside every body, I can know about all the bodies. Now, that is my opinion. Now, Krishna is introducing the concept that the soul is not alone. Soul is always accompanied by a super soul. So now please hear my brief description of the field of activities, how it is constituted, what its changes are when it is produced, and that who that knower of the field of activity is, and what his influences are. Krishna says that महाभूतान अन्य अहंकाराओ महाभूतान अन्य अहंकारो बुद्धिर्व्यक्तमेव च बुद्धिरव्यक्तमेव च इंद्रियाणि दशैके च पंच पंचचेन्द्रिय गोचरः इच्छा द्वेषः सुखम दुःखम संघात संघातश्चेतना धृतिः एकत् क्षेत्रं समासेन सविकारं मुदारतम्. The five great elements, false ego, intelligence, the manifested and the unmanifested, and 10 senses, the 10 senses and the mind, and the five sense object, desire, hatred, happiness, distress, the aggregate the life symptoms and the convictions. All these are considered in summary to be the field of activities and its interactions. So Krishna is talking about two things: the field of activities. Now, field of activity is defined as the sharira. Sharira, from the Atma's point of view, sharira is his field of activities. Now, Krishna is explaining what that field of activity constitutes of. How does that, what does it contain? So, now this is all of us who have studied that the Big Bang theory, or we were developed, we were monkeys before and become human now. So all of you should contemplate, should reflect on understanding these 24 elements that Krishna is speaking, that with which we are made up of. Now it's not constitute it's it has not happened by bang. It has not come out of the bang. You cannot create anything by doing a explosion, a bang. And no human body has also been created from a bang. We were humans now. My father was human. My f- my my father was a person. My grandfather was a person. His grandfather was a person, and his great grandfather was also person. And ultimately, Krishna, who is the father of the entire all the living entities, is also a person. We are made up of these constituents, and all these components together make who we are. And we can sense, feel, and understand that the presence of all these 24 elements inside us, and thereby conclude that indeed what scriptures tell is true, what science is teaching is false. That's just the philosophy, that's just the truth. So the 24 elements of material nature, the constitute of kshetra or the material body. The five great elements are earth, water, fire, air, and ether. The five knowledge acquiring senses. There is Jnanendriya, our eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. Five working senses like voice, leg, hands, anus, and genitals. Five sense objects are smell, taste, form, touch, and sound. And mind, the 11th sense, the intelligence, false ego, and pradhanam, the unmanifested. The aggregate of these 24 elements is called the field of activity. By analytical study of these 24 elements, one can understand the field of activity, the items of knowledge from 8 to 12. This is a verse where Prabhupada has combined five verses and given different items of knowledge. 20 items of knowledge Prabhupada has given. We'll take a look at these one after another. Prabhupada starts with Amanitvam, and these 20 elements are known as knowledge. Everything else is not knowledge. Now we'll understand what does that mean. Let's go through Amanitvam. Amanitvam Prabhupada defines. I'll not go through all the, or we can quickly go through all the definitions that Prabhupada has given because they make sense. They are important. Amanitva, this is the first quality we should develop if we want to make any progress in bhakti. If you go to a engineering college, want to become engineer, want to get admitted in a medical college to become a doctor, MBBS, you need to have some basic humility, some basic submissive spirit, and to be able to understand that these are the textbook I have to accept, these are the teachers I have to accept, and this is the institute I should affiliate myself with. In if at all I want to become a doctor, I can't just declare myself to be a doctor and then start treating patients. That will create chaos if everybody start doing this. So there is a process through which I need to go. There are scriptures that I need to accept as the truth, and there is a teacher. There is a guru that I have to accept, and I have to follow their instructions. So if at all I have to become a doctor, and everything starts with humility, everything begins with humility. If we keep challenging the textbook, that have you seen Newton, if you ask your professor, he will say no, I'm born just now, I'm probably few years back, but I have not seen Newton. Then how do you know that Newton has actually written? Do you have original manuscript handwritten by Newton? How do you know it was written by Newton? and and so on and so forth. So if you keep questioning like this, you will be stupid enough not to learn. You will just not learn, and you will probably get kicked out of that institute, and you will suffer. You will be the loser. So we when we come to bhakti, we should accept with reasonable assurance what is been presented. The Bhagavad Gita is a text available in all nook and corner of the world. The same Sanskrit text Bhagavad Gita is available everywhere. So we should accept it. If we keep challenging Bhagavad Gita, we will never be able to utilize it and take and get any benefit out of it. It has immense benefit to offer. So Amanitva begins, or the bhakti begins, any learning process begins with the humility, with the exhibition and demonstration of humility. There is no humility in a challenging spirit, we can learn nothing. If we'll keep challenging this in this way, the physics, laws of physics and laws of biology, you will probably learn nothing, and you are the one will be considered to be the loser. The institute will teach those who are humble enough to accept the book, the scriptures, and the teachers, and are ready to apply to the process defined. They will become doctors and they will get pass. You will remain as you are, idiot. So be humble. Don't wait for you to be humbled by Krishna, by his force. Eventually, he will do that, but it makes sense. It is wise to become humble in front of Krishna. So, amanitvam, not to be anxious, to have satisfaction of being honored. Again, a beautiful definition Prabhupada has given. Not to be anxious, to have satisfaction of being honored. It's not that we should not honor devotees, but devotees should not have anxiety whether or not I will be honored, and they should not derive great satisfaction whenever we are honored. Why? Because when you will not be honored, on some occasions you will derive great dissatisfaction. So a devotee accept honor, don't expect honor. So we all should remember that as practicing devotee, we should be offering honor, we should be giving honor and respect and pay obeisances whenever we meet devotees. But we should not be expecting honor from others, because that's humility. That is the fundamental quality that we need to cultivate in the bhakti yoga. Pridelessness, dambha. uh, Again, Dhamma is, when you don't have anything and still you expect respect, that is called Dhamma. And Prabhupada translate it as a pridelessness, non-violence, not put others in distress. Unless one elevate people to spiritual knowledge, one is practicing violence. One should try his best to distribute real knowledge. What Prabhupada is defining here is, in the Ishopanishad also there's a similar verse 3rd, where killer of the soul is defined. The concept of killer of the soul. Now, we all know that soul cannot be killed. There is no death for the soul. Then how this concept of killer of the soul comes in the scriptures? It means basically if you deprive your soul of getting spiritual knowledge, and the purifying its existence and going back to Krishna, if you deprive soul of this opportunity in human form of life, it is it is like committing violence towards them, because then they will never be able to utilize their human life for the purpose that it is created. The primary purpose is to go back to Krishna in human form of life. If that is defeated, then that is a violence. Prabhupada saying, so you should distribute real knowledge to people. One should not be violent towards other human beings. So distribute real knowledge, learn yourself and distribute as much as you can. That is non-violence. Tolerance, be practice to bear insults and dishonor from others. Simplicity, so straightforward that you can disclose the real truth even to an enemy. Accepting spiritual master, this is essential. Cleanliness, bathing for external, chanting for internal cleanliness. Steadiness, determined to make progress in spiritual life. और it should not be seasonal. कार्तिक आया है तो कर लेते हैं, बाकी 12 महीना 11 महीना करने का जरूरत नहीं है. No, we should be determined to make progress in spiritual life. We should be steady, committed in the spirituality. Self control, reject everything unfavorable to spiritual advancement. Renunciation of sense object, not cater to unnecessary demands, gratify only to keep our body fit for devotional service. So whatever is required for to keep our body fit for devotional service should be done, but unnecessary demand for sense gratification should be avoided. That's the renunciation of sense object. Absence of false ego, reject I am this body, a mind, etc., except I am servant of Krishna. Perception of evils of birth, death, old age, and disease. Dukkha, Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi, Dukkha Doshanu. antaram. So these are dukkha dosha. Uh, they are disclosing. They are like an iceberg, a tip of an iceberg which is visible in the ocean. Whenever there is an iceberg, iceberg might be giant inside the water, underwater, but above the water, only a small portion is visible. That is what is the nature of this birth, death, janma, mrityu, jara, vyadhi, birth, death, old age, and disease. Now they're like a tip of an iceberg, and if we can see them, um, that they are the cause of persistence of evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, then we will become fixed in devotional service. For that to happen, we must regularly hear about these from proper sources. So that's why daily reading of Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam is mandatory, is necessary. Some hearing should happen so that no point of time we should think that this life is meant for enjoyment. I'll not die. I will not become old. I will not get disease. And after dying, I will come back in this material miserable world. So one, if you remember this daily, constantly, one will be committed in one's bhakti, devotional service. Detachment, be ready to sacrifice everything from Krishna, everything for Krishna. No entanglement with wife, children, etc. Affection is natural, but renounce if relationship not favorable for spiritual advancement. Another last six. Uh, last five, even mindedness, not elated or distress at material gain or loss by performing unbreakable without deviation devotional service. Ananya Bhakti, engage oneself in nine process of devotional service, aspiring to live in a solitary place and detachment from general masses, no, not desiring to mix with materialistic men, live in association of devotees, accepting importance of self-realization, give up unnecessary sporting, non-devotional cinema going, materialistic social activities, avoid wasting time. So that is also say Prabhupada's Krishna is saying that this is a knowledge, element of knowledge, and philosophical search for the absolute truth. Reject useless research and philosophical topics and focus on the actual thing. Prabhupada writes in the purport, beginning from the practicing humility up to the point of realization of the supreme truth, the absolute personality of Godhead. This process is just like a staircase beginning from the ground floor going up to the top floor. Now on this staircase there are so many people who have reached the first floor and the second and the third, etc., but unless one reaches the top floor, which is the understanding of Krishna, he is at lower stage of knowledge. If anyone wants to compete with God and at the same time make advancement in spiritual knowledge, he will be frustrated. Again, this is a very important section. Envious of Krishna. Anybody who is envious of Krishna, Krishna says he cannot understand the mysteries of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a science of relationship, and rahasyam yo etada uttamam. Science of relationship, and this is secret, this is mystical, but because people are trying to compete with Krishna, uh, all their efforts of becoming devotee will be frustrated because you have to become submissive, surrendered to Krishna in order to understand Krishna, because Krishna can be understood through his revelation by dadami buddhi yogam tvam yena mam upayantite. You can come to me basis using the buddhi that I am going to give you, and I will give you buddhi only if I see you practicing bhakti in a loving way. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam प्रीति पूर्वकम. आप भजन करेंगे प्रीति पूर्वक, मेरी भक्ति करेंगे, देन तो मैं आपको ददामी बुद्धि योगम त्वाम, आपको मैं बुद्धि प्रदान करूंगा, यूजिंग विच, इस बुद्धि का उपयोग करके आप मेरे पास आ पाएंगे, मेरे धाम आ पाएंगे. ददा ये नमाम उपयंति ते. So if anyone wants to compete with Krishna, he obviously does not want to go to Krishna. And Even if he try to become devotee for some material benefit, all his efforts to become devotee will be frustrated. Prabhupada is writing. No taste for cinema, sports, enjoying some social function, don't want to mix with materialistic men, etc. Now, this is again a important quality, important component of knowledge. One should try to understand the distress of accepting birth, death, old age, and disease. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the world of unborn, the child's stay in the womb of matter of a mother is its suffering, etc., are all graphically described. It should be thoroughly understood that birth is distressful because we forget how much distress we have suffered within the womb of the mother. We do not make any solution to the repetition of birth and death. Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, chapter 31. Unless we have a pessimistic view of this material life, considering the distress of birth, death, old age, and disease, there is no impetus for making spiritual advancement, or making any making advancement in spiritual life. So we have to have pessimistic view of the material life. Pessimistic view, this is a very important statement. Now, what does it mean? We should not hope to have eternal happy life in this material world. We should not hope that we will ourselves create a eternal happy blissful life in this material world, because all those efforts will be frustrated. All these are all competing with Krishna. These are our activities in competition with Krishna. Now those will be frustrated. Now another important point Prabhupada Krishna made here, that detachment from wife and children, why it is necessary for a devotee. So it's not that with detachment doesn't mean that there's no attachment at all. So affection at all. So there's a distinction. Let's bring out between attachment and affection. Affection is natural emotion we experience in every relationship, and it is necessary. Any good relationship will have affection based on the foundation of affection, based on the foundation of uh, acceptance, affection, um, and when we accept a person in a relationship, when we acknowledge a person, we reciprocate with that person in an affectionate way, we acknowledge the contribution of that person, the importance of that person, that relationship becomes stronger. And so affection is natural and necessary. Srila Prabhupada in his dealings with the devotees often demonstrated this, and because of which all the devotees they fell in love with Prabhupada. All these young boys and girls, American and European boys and girls, wherever Prabhupada went, they were attracted by Prabhupada's loving, affectionate nature more than the philosophy that Prabhupada was teaching. So Prabhupada saw in his Vyas Puja in Mayapur, there was an incident that he saw a devotee was limping. So during Vyas Puja, everyone was singing and offering him obeisances. Prabhupada called that devotee and asked him what happened, and then he immediately dictated him some medicine कि ये करो लेप लगाओ ये ठीक हो जाएगा. Why? Because he cared for devotee as a wholesome package. Devotee is not just soul. Devotee is inside a soul, inside a body. So devotee also has a body. Devotee also has senses, desires, mind, intelligence, everything. And one devotee is one whole package, contains everything. And you have to take care of all aspects of that devotee. You can't just say, I will only give you spiritual knowledge, rest, you go figure out what you want to do. That may not help, that will not be good. So one has to affectionately take care of all aspects of a devotee, but one should not be attached to a person. What does that mean? Detachment means lack of excessive emotional entanglement while performing one's duty. Detachment means lack of excessive emotional entanglement while performing one's duty. Another example, there was Prabhupada used to push everyone to go out for book distribution. He considered book distribution to be the foremost, the biggest activity that everyone should do. So, so there were some temples there where people where the devotees were. There were married couples who used to live there, and the families used to live inside the temple itself. And those children, there will be children, obviously when there will be marriages, there will be children, and all those many matajis had small children, and they used to not go out for book distribution. So when Prabhupada used to insist, sometimes some of those devotees were saying that okay, book distribution is more important than taking care of your small children. So everyone should go out for book distribution. That was the interpretation some of the temples had. So one Mataji wrote to Prabhupada, and then he confirmed, he wrote a strong letter saying that all children, all small children are Vaikuntha children, and they must be taken full care of. And if Matajis, those who are taking care of those children, they need not go for book distribution. Now, that doesn't mean that you should remain attached to your child forever. Some stage, the children will become better, and so Mataji shouldn't just confine herself only to taking care of children and stay at home. Every available opportunity, they should also go out to preach, because that should be also the thing to do for them. And that is how Prabhupada was balancing both. Be affectionate, but don't be attached. Don't be so attached that you will not be able to do your duties properly. The example of attachment is Dhritarashtra. Even if he saw Duryodhana was doing 100 wrong things, he didn't couldn't gather courage to tell Duryodhana this is wrong, what is right and what is wrong, and thereby he failed in his duty as a father as well as a king. So therefore, he felt he got what he got in the Mahabharata. So how do we understand the relationship in terms of our practical of application point of view? So we have on the this is our relationship with Krishna. We This is Krishna, this is we, and we are trying to become devotee. We are trying to understand Bhagavad Gita. We are trying to wake up early in the morning for japa. We are trying to do Hare Krishna Mahamantra, japa of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and we are trying to cultivate constant remembrance of Krishna. We hope in the association of devotees, if we do that, we will go back to Krishna. That's fine. Um, this is other social circle. This could be our spouse, our children, our neighbors, our friends, our father, our mother, our uncle, auntie, मामा, काका, जो कुछ है वो सब ये है. उनका भी कृष्णा के साथ सेम रिलेशनशिप है. Some people who are atheists obviously are have given up, renounced that relationship, and some people could be worshipping demigods. Some people could be not worshipping anyone at all. Some people could be worshipping Krishna, but could be will be at various level. Now, we are at one level and they are at different levels. So they also have their relationship with Krishna, and we have our relationship with them. The now, as long as we are present in a triangle, as long as there is a triangle, it is okay. It is okay means all these scenarios we have considered. I am Krishna conscious. My association is also Krishna conscious. This is a best case scenario where I am trying to become a devotee. My spouse is also trying to become a devotee. So our interactions will be complementing with each other, will complement each other. When she is doing japa, I can take care of household responsibilities. When I am doing sadhana, she can take care of children and make them not make noise, so that I can my reading can go on nicely, my chanting can go on nicely. This is best case scenario. If this exists, both of us can make progress, very rapid spiritual progress in the bhakti. One is Krishna conscious, the other person is God conscious, but not maybe practicing demigod or something like this. Then this is still favorable. One As long as one is not a non-believer, things are good. They are favorable. So one should be respectful with our associate, our association. As long as in one, two, three cases, The fourth case is where a person in our associate, suppose our spouse, our father, our mother, now they become non-believer. If they happen to be non-believer, but they're neutral. Neutral means they don't stop us from believing in Krishna, stop us from practicing Krishna consciousness. As long as they don't practice, but they are allowing us to practice, this is not bad, but we must get our space to practice. We should have sufficient space for ourselves to practice bhakti, to be able to wake up in the morning, to do japa, to do reading, to meet devotees, to go on dham yatra, go to Vrindavan. So we shouldn't be constrained from doing these activities. So even if the person who is our association is non-believer, he is still not causing any harm to us, and therefore this is not as bad as we may have. It is not great, but this is not bad as well. Our association happens to be atheist. We are trying to be Krishna conscious. Our partner happens to be atheist. Now we must demand and protect our space. We know India, we live, most countries, there are democracies, which means people are allowed to have beliefs and practice according to their beliefs, and that is accepted and respected by many. And as long as we do that, we should be fine. So even if our partner happens to be atheist, as long as we get our space to practice spirituality, bhakti, devotional service, this relationship is also is in the triangle. When the when it becomes our partner is atheist and want us to become one atheist by giving up Krishna consciousness, and they try actively for us to give up our Krishna consciousness, our block our Krishna consciousness, that is when this situation becomes hostile, and we must this is an extreme situation where we have to do things to protect our practice of bhakti. So it's not no more a triangle. Thus, this person is now coming in between us and Krishna, somewhere over here, and he's blocking us from our, going to Krishna. Now, this is a hostile situation, and we must take stringent actions in this case. Of course, by consulting devotees, we don't have to. We may assume one situation to be another. We may mistakenly understand that as well. So we should consult devotees to get correct perspective. Spirituality versus science. When Krishna says that only these 20 items are listed as knowledge and everything else is ignorance, what is Krishna talking about here is that jnana, which can help us make spiritual advancement, is what is being talked about. Jnana, the physics, chemistry, biology, engineering knowledge, medical knowledge, all of those are not talked about here, because none of those knowledges will help us become a nice devotee of Lord Krishna. When we cultivate those 20 qualities, they will help us become a good devotee of Krishna, becoming a progress in the bhakti yoga, in the devotional service, with the help of those 20 qualities. If we are able to cultivate those, is not referring to Varnashram. That's the point that Prabhupada was making. Hence, however, the point Krishna is making is none of those skills will lead you to attain liberation, which is the ultimate goal of life. Prabhupada writes in the purport that to think oneself God is most puffed up. To think that one has one I am only God is the most puffed up. Although the living entity is always being kicked by the stringent laws of material nature, he still think I am God because of ignorance. The beginning of knowledge, therefore, is amanitva, humility. One should be humble and should know that he is subordinate to the Supreme God. Due to rebellion against Supreme Lord, one became subordinate to the material nature. One must know and be convinced of this truth. One must know and be convinced so that you can act according to that truth. That uh, that we are subordinate to Krishna, which we are subordinate to Krishna. We are servants of Krishna. We have to love and serve Krishna. The S, the soul and the super soul. Now, this is a very interesting section. We are slightly behind schedule. We'll probably go slightly above past 1 o'clock, so we can take question answer through by way of WhatsApp messages. You can post them, send them to me directly, and we can try and look at those later. I shall now explain the knowable, knowing which you will taste the eternal Brahman, the spirit, the beginningless and subordinate to me, lies beyond the cause and effect of this material world. Prabhupada writes in the purport, now he begins to explain the knowable, first the soul and then the super soul. The Supreme Lord, as the super soul, is also stated in Vedic literature, Shweta Swatara Upanishad 6.16, to be Pradhana Kshetrajna, Patir Guneshah, a chief knower of the body and the master of the three modes of material nature. So we acquire knowledge from various sources. We look outwards, pratyaksha praman, we observe things. We look inwards, we do anumana praman, and we look upwards, shabda praman, we knowledge through revelation by Lord or his pure devotees. So shabda praman is considered to be the superior, but we'll use all the combination of all the three methods to learn whatever we learn. Now, from this, in this section, up till the verse 19, Krishna is speaking about this super soul. Prabhupada is coined this term super soul, is like Superman. The supreme soul. There's a soul and there's a super soul. Um, now this super soul is a para, is a different than a soul, is a bigger than a soul, is more powerful than a soul, more capacity, has much more capacity than the simple ordinary soul. And his attributes are described. Attributes sometimes are contradictory, mystical in nature. Let's listen to this. Now, let's understand what does that mean. Everywhere are his hands and legs, his eyes, heads, and faces, and he has ears everywhere. In this way, the supersoul exists, pervading everything. So all pervasive nature of the super soul is explained, that he is everywhere. The super soul is the original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. Now, understand the paradox or the contradiction in the statements. Now, he is original source of all senses, yet he is without senses. He is unattached, although he is maintainer of all living beings. So if I am maintaining my family, I will be attached to my family. It's very natural. But here it is mentioned that super soul is maintaining all the living entities, but he's unattached. He's not attached with any of those living entities. So again, there's a contradiction. He transcends the modes of nature, and at the same time, he is the master of all the modes of material nature. The supreme truth exists without and inside of all living beings, the moving and the non moving. Because he is subtle, he is beyond the power of the material senses to see or to know. Although far, far away, he is also near to all. Again, you see a lot of contradiction in all these statements. So how does he understand? How does it mean? What does it really mean? Next, verse text 17. Although the super soul appears to be divided amongst all being, he is never divided. He is situated as one. Although he is the maintainer of every living entity, it is to be understood that he is devious and develops all. 18. He is the source of light in all luminous objects. He is beyond the darkness of matter and unmanifested and is unmanifested. He is knowledge. He is the object of knowledge and he is the goal of knowledge. He is knowledge, he is object of knowledge, and he is the goal of knowledge. He is situated in everyone's heart. Thus, the field of activities, the body, knowledge, and the knowable have been summarily described by me. Only my devotees can understand this thoroughly and thus attain my nature. So what Krishna has spoken is about, there are various contradictory statements. He's everywhere, and yet he's at his in his abode also. So, so so what we discuss another book called Ishopanishad, Sri Ishopanishad, which also has verses, paradoxical verses like this, the verse 4, the fifth, that he can run, he has no legs, but he can run faster than mind. Something like that. So if you have no leg, how can you run? And that too faster than mind. So so all these contradictions about the super soul, about Krishna, need to be understand with two broad themes. One is Krishna as Krishna, the Bhagavan exists at three levels: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahman, as a Brahman, he's pervading everything and in pervading in everything and everywhere. He's everywhere, and there's no, just like what we saw um, in the previous class, we discussed example of a halwa being cooked in the home. Now, the fragrance of halwa, suji being roasted on the in ghee, is filled inside the entire home. So, similarly, Krishna pervades is exist in every nook and corner of the whole world, whole creation. So that is Bhagavan. That is Paramat. That is the that is his manifestation. As a Paramatma, he is he can be seen. He can be seen in the heart of devotee. He is present inside our heart, and yogi can take his darshan. And as a Bhagwan, he is also living in his abode. He's living in his abode. And so Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagwan, all the three manifestations are simultaneously present for God. So he's when we say he's everywhere, he's also in his abode and he's also inside our heart. This is his Aishwarya. This is his capacity to do things. So which are far superior than what our imagination can be. So similarly, God, Krishna can do things, multiple things. He can be because and he can get things done through his energies. And energies are there is a potencies. There are his potencies. So he has unlimited potencies also. The primarily there are uh, internal potency and external potency of Krishna who get things done for him. So we can we can study this in detail when we discuss Ishopanishad hopefully soon. But suffice it to know that these are inconceivable. Inconceivable means at our level of knowledge and purification and understanding, we cannot understand them. But they are true features of the super soul. Now, the enjoyer, the verse 22, third section, the fourth section, the 30, 20 to 26. Prakritim purusham chaiva vidya anadi ubhavapi vikaramscha gunashchaiva vidhim prakriti sambhavan. Now, Prakriti and Purusha. Now, Krishna has already spoken about Prakriti, that's a material nature, and Purusha. Purusha are two type of Purusha. One is soul and super soul. Chaivam Vidya Anadi Ubhavapi. Both of them are Anadi. Both of them, Ubhavapi means both are Anadi. Both are Anadi. So the material nature and the living entities should be understood to be beginningless. Their transformations and the modes of matter are produced by the material nature. Let's see what Prabhupada mentions in the purport. Both material nature and living entity are eternal. That is to say that they existed before the creation. The material manifestation is the energy of the Supreme Lord. So Prabhupada writes that here, that how the the whole the whole creation is temporary. The building that we see today will be demolished tomorrow, but eternal. But this nature are changing form, but this building will change. The elements of this elements of building, which is nothing but earth, water, fire, air, ether, combined in different combination, it will change form, but it will never get completely destroyed. It is eternal because it is Krishna's energy. It can be absorbed inside Krishna, Mahavishnu, but it, and when required, it can be manifested again. But it is eternal. Just like living entities are eternal, even the material creation is eternal. Prabhupada write that, but with the coming forth of material nature, these living entities are once again given a chance to act in the material world and prepare themselves to enter into the spiritual world. So, Prabhupada talks about the human form of life. What is it? It is a chance to act in the material world in such a way so that we can enter into the spiritual world. That is the mystery of this material creation. Actually, the living entity. So, this is the purpose of this material creation and our appearance in the human form of body. This is the purpose behind this. It is not to become doctor, engineer, and make money, go foreign vacations, and enjoy liquor, enjoy in this part of the world. And so that is not the goal of life. Goal of life is to enter, prepare oneself to enter into the spiritual world. That is the mystery of this material creation. Actually, the living entity is originally the spiritual part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But due to his rebellious nature, he is conditioned within material nature. It really does not matter how these living entities or the superior entities of the Supreme Lord have come in contact with the matter, material nature. The Supreme Personality of Godhead knows, however, how and why this actually took place. In the scriptures of the Lord, in the scriptures, the Lord says that those attached by this material nature as are undergoing a hard struggle for existence. Krishna says further that karya karana kartutve hetu prakrute ruchyate. Purusha sukha dukhanam bhoktrutve hetu ruchyate. The nature is said to be the cause of all material causes and effect, whereas the living entity is the cause of the various sufferings and enjoyments in this world. Prabhupada writes in the purport there are 84 lakh species, different species of life, and these varieties are creations of the material nature. They arise from the different sensual pleasures of this material living entity, who thus desires to live in this body or that body. When he is put into different bodies, he enjoys different kind of happiness and distress. His material happiness and distress are due to his body, not due to himself as he is, because in his original state he is spiritual. In his original state there is no doubt of enjoyment, therefore that is his real state. Suppose an entity is put into the body of a dog. As soon as he is put into the body of a dog, he must act like a dog. He cannot act otherwise. And if the living entity is put into the body of a hog, then he is forced to eat stool and act like a hog. This is law of nature. But in all circumstances, the supreme soul, the super soul, is with the individual soul. The supreme Lord is so kind upon the living entity that he always accompanies the individual soul in all circumstances, is present as super soul or Paramatma. Even if you go to an elephant body, Krishna is there with you. Even if you go to a stool's body, a worm in a stool, that body, even if you get, Krishna is also present with you. He will never leave you. And that is how, Krishna is so kind upon the living entities. Purusham prakriti sthohi bhunte prakriti jangunan karanam gunasangosya sad asata yoni janmasu. The living entity in material nature thus follow the ways of life, enjoying the three modes of nature. This is due to his association with the material nature. Thus, he meet with good and evil amongst various species. This verse is very important for an understanding of how the living entities transmigrate from one body to another. It is explained in the second chapter that living entity is transmigrating from one body to another body, just as one changes dress. This change of dress is due to attachment to the material existence. As long as he is captivated by this false manifestation, he has to continue transmigrating from one body to another. Due to his desire to lord it over material nature, he is put into such undesirable circumstances. It is due to the association with the material modes of nature. One has to rise, therefore, above the three modes of material nature and become situated in transcendental position. That is called Krishna consciousness. Unless one is situated in Krishna consciousness, his material consciousness will oblige him to transfer from one body to another because he has material desires since time immemorial. But he has to change that conception. That change can be affected only by hearing from authoritative sources. The best example is here. Arjuna is hearing the science of God from Krishna. The living entity, if he submits to this hearing process, will lose his long cherished desire to dominate material nature, and gradually and proportionately, as he reduces his long desire to dominate, he comes to enjoy spiritual happiness. In Vedic mantra, it is said that as he becomes learned in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he proportionately relishes his eternal blissful life. So the spiritual happiness, is critical. We have to give up material happiness, but if we are not offered an alternative, we will not be able to give up properly material happiness. So, but Prabhupada writes that gradually and proportionately one can experience spiritual happiness if one is committed to the process of bhakti yoga. And once you get that spiritual house happiness, ras, rasopyasa, uh, if you taste in the 2.59, rasovarjam rasopyasya param drashtva nivartate, rasovarjam rasopyasya, that if you enjoy higher happiness, then you are able to give up your lower happiness very easily. So rasovarjam rasopyasya, so that's how we will progress in the spiritual path when we experience spiritual happiness. We get spiritual happiness by performing spiritual activities in association of devotees. Here is again one of the most important verse. Upadrashta anumanta cha bharta bhokta maheshwara paramatmeti chapyukto dehesmin purusha paraha. Yet in this body there is another, a transcendental enjoyer who is the Lord, the supreme proprietor, and who exists as the overseer and permitter, and who is known to be as the super soul or Paramatma. As Paramatma is defined, Dehesmin Purusha Paraha Bhokta Upadrashta Anumanta. Upadrashta is overseer and permitter. Anumanta, permitter. Bharta Bhokta Maheshwara. Bharta and Bhokta. He's the maintainer, and Bhokta means enjoyer. So that is Krishna introducing the Paramatma feature also in its proper sense, complete sense. So it is stated that the super soul, who is always with the super individual soul, is the representation of the Supreme Lord. He is not an ordinary living entity. To clarify this, the Lord says that he is represented as Paramatma in every body. He is different from the individual soul. He is para, transcendental. The individual soul enjoys the activities of a particular field, but the super soul is present not as finite enjoyer, but as one taking part in the bodily activities, but as the witness of everything. Overseer, permitter, and supreme enjoyer. His name is Paramatma, not Atma. He is transcendental, Param Atma. The Lord is always eager to take him back to the spiritual energy, but due to his minute independence, the individual entity is continually rejecting the association of supreme spiritual light. This misuse of independence is cause of his material strife in the conditioned nature. The Lord therefore is always giving instructions from within and from without. From without he gives instruction as stated in Bhagavad Gita, and from within he tries to convince the living entity that his activities in the material field are not conducive to real happiness. Just give it up and turn your faith towards me. Then you will be happy, he says. Text 24. He, one who understands this philosophy concerning material nature and the living entity and the interaction of the modes of nature is sure to attain liberation. He will not take birth here again, regardless of his present position. 25th, some perceive the super soul within themselves through meditation. So there are three methods given. One can perform meditation and try to focus on the super soul. One can cultivate knowledge, jnana marga, and karma marga. Meditation, knowledge, and karma yoga. They try to attain the same super soul, get the knowledge and information about the same super soul, Krishna. And Prabhupada Krishna says something very significant here. अन्ये त्व एवम् अजानन्तः अन्यत्वे एवम् अजानन्तः श्रुत्वान्येभ्य उपासते श्रुत्वान्येभ्य उपासते ते अपि च तरन्तेव ते अपि च तरन्तेव मृत्यु श्रुति परायणाः. What does it means? Anye or another type of devotees are there, those who, although not conversant in the spiritual knowledge, begin to worship the Supreme Person upon hearing about Him from others. Because of their tendency to hear from the authorities, they also transcend the path of birth and death. So they understand Krishna, they attain Krishna. This verse is particularly applicable to modern society because in modern society there is practically no education in the spiritual matters. As for the common man, if he is good soul, then there is a chance for advancement by hearing. This hearing process is very important. uh, the Lord Chaitanya, who preached Krishna consciousness in the modern world, gave great stress to hearing because if the common man simply hears from the authoritative sources, he can progress. Especially according to Lord Chaitanya, if he hears the transcendental vibration Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. It is stated, therefore, that all men should take advantage of hearing from realized souls and gradually become able to understand everything. The worship of the Supreme Lord will then undoubtedly take place. In this particularly, the process of hearing is strongly recommended, and this is very appropriate. Although the common man is often not as capable as so-called philosophers, faithful hearing from an authoritative person will help one transcend. Uh, help one transcend this material existence and go back to Krishna. Seeker to seer, another three verses, which basically explains that how how a person should develop jnana chakshu, one who sees super soul equally present everywhere in every living being, does not degrade himself by his mind. Thus, he approaches the transcendental destination. So, one thing is to see that every all the living entities are a spiritual spark. But another level, when you understand the super soul, the presence of super soul, you also see presence of super soul inside every living entity, and then you treat them with love, care, and respect. So that's how you treat them equally. Lesson 30 to 35, transcendental. In the 35th verse, Krishna says that क्षेत्रे क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञोर एवर एवं क्षेत्र क्षेत्रज्ञ योर एवं तरम अंतरम ज्ञान चक्षुषा भूत प्रकृति मोक्षम च ये विदुर्यन्ति ते पराम. Ye viduryanti te param. So those who see with eyes of knowledge the difference between the body, the knower of the body, and can also understand the process of liberation from bondage of material nature, attain the supreme goal. Prabhupada writes in the purport that the purport of this 13th chapter is that one should know the distinction between the body and the owner of the body and the supersoul. A faithful person should at first have some good association to hear of God and thus gradually become enlightened. If one accepts a spiritual master, one can learn to distinguish between matter and spirit, and that becomes the stepping stone for the further spiritual realization. So, the difference one should be able to not know theoretically but should be able to distinguish between matter and spirit. That's a stepping stone towards spiritual realization. The spiritual master by various instructions teaches his students to get free from material concept of life. For instance, in Bhagavad Gita we find Krishna instructing Arjuna to free from materialistic considerations. One can understand that this body is matter. It can be analyzed as its with its 24 elements. But over and above this, there is the soul, and that is the and there is also the super soul. There's not only soul but also super soul. The soul and super soul are two, not one. They're two. One who can see the constitution of the whole material manifestation as the combination of the soul and matter material elements can also see situation of the supreme soul, becomes eligible for the transfer to the spiritual world. These things are meant for contemplation and for realization, and one should have a complete understanding of this chapter with the help of a spiritual master. So we conclude just 5 minutes ahead of after 1, but so our facility for japa and so we should hear daily. We should we should Prabhupada writes in the 26th verse. Krishna says that hearing is important. We should hear daily. We should read daily and upasate. Shrutva upasate. This should lead to us performing devotional service. If hearing Bhagavad Gita, understanding, reading Bhagavad Gita is not inspiring us to become devotee of Krishna and actually perform devotional activities, we are missing out on something. We're doing something wrong. We're not getting the desired result of our sadhana. So at an initial level, we should feel inspiration to become a nice devotee. Later, we can become nice servant of Krishna. But at least initially, we should have faith and to for which should inspire us to wake up early in the morning, or even if it is late at night, we should not sleep without hearing or without reading, and we should grab every available opportunity for serving. So if we get inspired to do these three things, that's good enough progress in spirituality that we all can hope to have. And the opportunity for japa and hearing and chanting is a morning chanting opportunity on the Zoom session. All of you are requested to join these sessions regularly, daily. So our Vikas Prabhuji host some of these sessions, and it will be wonderful for all of you to hear from him. So and become fixed in the devotional service. So morning japa starts at 4:45, goes on till 7:30. Evening reading session starts at 8:30, goes on till 9:15. So we'll conclude today's session um, by seeing if there are any questions and answer. So it so essentially, basically, the whole chapter talks about the distinction between matter and spirit, the body, soul, and super soul. And super soul and soul has a relationship between them. And essentially, this is the same thing that we have discussed earlier also. So, to that extent, it's not very difficult to comprehend, but the way it is being mentioned here. So, this section, once we have to understand, this section is for the Gyanis, and Gyanis don't like things mentioned to them in a straightforward way. Therefore, we see in such a complex presentation of the same fact that we've discussed earlier, that the soul super soul has a relationship, and we have to work to realize that relationship. It's a science of relationship, as Krishna says in the 4.3. um, and that is the secret of Bhagavad Gita, that when we start acting with the knowledge of this science of relationship between us and Krishna, then our actions become all our actions are performed for the pleasure of Krishna. And those actions not only don't produce new reactions, but also help us destroy all the previous accumulated reactions and prepare ourselves to go to the spiritual world. We can go to the spiritual world with our mood of lovingly serving Krishna in all circumstances, not where I can find my next source of enjoyment. That mood we will perpetually remain in this material world, searching for objects of pleasure one after another. But if we have mood of service and we derive great pleasure, great joy by rendering service to Krishna, by doing something for his pleasure, by doing something for the pleasure of his devotees, then that is our preparation for going back to Krishna. So this is a secret message Prabhupada reveals in the different purports of this particular chapter. So all of us should feel inspired to do that, should inspire to become nice devotee of Krishna, nice servant of Krishna, and develop loving affection towards Krishna, and get joy, experience joy by serving Krishna. For that, Dham Nivas is so crucial. We should associate with people, those devotees who already have developed these qualities. And Dinbandhu Prabha, Atul Krishna Prabhuji are such devotees who are already have developed love for Krishna. And by associating with them, by asking them questions, by listening from them, by singing bhajans and kirtans with them, we will also get infected by that loving affection towards Krishna. So if we can do that, that will be that will help us realize our life's full potential, human life's full potential of ultimately going back to Krishna in this one lifetime. So with this, we'll conclude today's session. जगन्नाथ बलदेव सुभद्रा माई की जय, शील प्रभुपाद की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि बोल, हरि बोल, हरे कृष्णा, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much everyone for joining. And as I said, we'll probably not meet for a couple of Sundays. This next Sunday is 27th and 3rd. Both the days will be in Yatra. We'll meet on the 10th of November. That's the next Sunday. That will be that way we will meet, and we'll continue with chapter 14. Our discussion on chapter 14. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a great time ahead. We have in the Kartik month perform Deepdan at home. Perform sing Damodar Ashtakam every day at least once. We've circulated the recording or the video, YouTube video of that Damodar Ashtakam with the lyrics. I've circulated, I think, Hindi and English Damodar Ashtakam as well. So start getting joy. The Damodar Leela happened to happen on the Diwali day. So make sure there's Diwali entire Krishna. Make this Diwali Krishna conscious by offering lamp every day and singing Damodar Ashtakam every day, apart from doing what we usually do. And we will be doing the same activities in Vrindavan. Hopefully, all of you will get chance to come to Vrindavan in our next yatra or join us for our next yatra somewhere in February. We'll circulate details in advance so that we all can start doing the booking. But just for everyone's knowledge, that we'll be having a yatra in February somewhere in Jaipur. for 3 to 4 days, not bigger. So all of you should attempt to come on that yatra and get a first of experience of spiritual happiness, what it means like, and then you will get addicted. You should get addicted to that spiritual happiness, and that's how we will develop and grow on our desire to go back to Krishna. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandvat
हरे
Pranam.
कृष्ण प्रभु जी धन्यवाद प्रणाम प्रभु जी
Hare Krishna
Hare
Prabhuji,
Krishna
Hare
Dandavat
Prabhuji,
Krishna
Pranam.
Prabhuji,
Thank you,
Dharma
Prabhuji.
Pranam. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
थैंक यू वेरी मच प्रभु जी